Alright, so if you're like me, you took a look at the brand new Grey Knights Codex and you're like, I wonder what's in there. Then you saw the Terminus Decree. You probably just left your ass off straight all the way to goddamn Sunday. Because ain't no goddamn way in hell 1,000 basic ass Grey Knights are going to take on the entirety of the Adeptus Terra and win. Many people, myself included, derided this as absolutely stupid lore that made zero sense and lore that was just absolutely dumb. Another perfect example of GW being GW. But the thing is though, that's all just on the surface. And when you actually look into it, you soon realize that this Terminus Decree doesn't only make sense, it is absolutely perfect. Because ladies and gentlemen, I hate to tell you, but we've been sleeping on the Grey Knights. Alright, but first thing first, what exactly is the Terminus Decree? The Terminus Decree is a bit of an old law that was essentially hanging in the air for a long time. It was essentially a secret decree made by the Emperor that had some relation to the Golden Throne. We had no idea what it was, we had no idea what it did, and it was one of those mysteries of 40k if you will. That all changed recently, for it was revealed what exactly the Terminus Decree was, and it involves the Grey Knights. And a lot of people were very upset by this, because as I said at first glance it looks kinda iffy, but instead of me just waffling on about it, how about I just tell it to you? Held in a simple wooden box that only the Supreme Grand Master may open, the Terminus Decree details the Emperor's final command to the Grey Knights chapter. The Master of Mankind can never be allowed to leave the Golden Throne. Either return to life, reborn in another's body, or ascend as some kind of warp entity. And if he does, the Grey Knights must return him to his terrible duty. Indeed, they were created with the possibility of this event in mind, a task beyond the abilities of any other force in the Imperium. The decree offers no guidance on how such feats might be achieved, for it is neither a weapon nor a magic formula, but rather, the Grey Knights themselves would be the weapon on such a desperate day, one that would likely have to cut a path through the ranks of the Custodian Guard, and many others, to see its duty done. So, by taking a look at this, you can see why a lot of people were pretty upset by this law. The Terminus Decree was something that was built up for a while, and a lot of people had various different wilding ideas as to what exactly it was meant to be. And then lo and behold, all of a sudden you realize that it's for the Grey Knights to put the Emperor back on the throne, and for them to fight the Custodes. The Grey Knights to fight the Custodes. Now look, the Grey Knights, they're nothing to sneeze at by any stretch of the imagination. Good old chapter 666 can throw some hands, but they're not exactly the Custodes. The Custodes are so incredibly better than anything that humanity has, it's not even funny. So to most people, the fact that this law basically states that the 1,000 Grey Knights are supposed to beat the 10,000 Custodians and the Sisters of Silence, it's like, yeah, no. That doesn't make a lick of sense, this is just bloody stupid. And in that context, it makes very bad sense. It makes even less sense when you realize that there aren't 1,000 Grey Knights actually. There's far less. The Grey Knights already suffered a lot of casualties. In fact, they're one of the most highest suffering casualty units of all the Space Marine chapters. But when you consider that the last time they fought Angron, when the Imperium found that pseudo-astronomicon thing inside of the Imperium Nihilus, 3 full companies were sent there. And they were all lost, with all hands. That whole thing was just gone, so that's 300 boys already just lost. You consider the fact that we have the 4th company that fucked off to do God knows what. Well, we do know what they fucked off to do. They went to go and sort out some chaos nonsense, but then they all died. We're now down to 600. And we consider they were already under strength, that means they were probably at 900, that means that minus 400, they're about 500. And considering we have the fact that the recruit company is struggling to get members, It's not good for the Knights of Titan. It's very bad. They probably only have like 500, 400 dudes maximum. And according to the Codex, this hasn't gotten any better. The manifestation of the Great Rift has ushered in a new age of nightmares for humanity. Warp storms rage across swaths of the galaxy. Infernal entities and their real space servants assail the worlds of the Imperium, their numbers legion. And the Grey Knights are spread painfully thin across an ever-increasing number of crisis zones. Such desperate times give rise to dark and desperate measures. Even at full strength, the Grey Knights always possess a relatively small number of warriors when set up against the colossal scale of the reality-spanning war they must fight. Since the appearance of the Great Rift, those numbers have only grown smaller and their dispersal more sparse. Newly emergent warp storms vomit hordes of heretics and demons across already beleaguered subsectors of Imperial space, each invasion triggering another chorus of the stress calls that only the Grey Knights are equipped to answer. Rising tides of warp energy leaking through the tattered veil amongst the heaving masses of humanity, and each divergent mind presents another gateway by which the demonic may burst into real space. Malevolent artifacts tainted by warp to awaken the hellish sentience and ensnare the unwary on countless worlds, while entities concealing themselves amongst the mass ranks of the Imperium's armies force the Grey Knights to exterminate hosts that might otherwise have fought humanity's myriad foes. Worst of all, half the Imperium has vanished behind the churning veil of the Secretix Maledictum. Many Grey Knight strike forces and several of their storied Grand Masters are believed to have been lost in the resultant maelstrom. Such losses would be disastrous enough if they have been exacerbated by fresh challenges to the Grey Knight's already exacting recruitment process. The infamous black ships that harvest cycles through the Emperor's realm have been sorely impacted by the coming of the Great Rift, and the attacks of heretic forces alike, leaving the Grey Knights with fewer raw recruits to draw from. Hundreds of worlds from which the Grey Knights would previously have gathered aspirants have been swallowed by warp storms, further lessening the recruitment pool. In face of such adversity, the Templars of Titan have resorted to attacks on other Imperial institutions, even other chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, to seize viable recruits before hiding all evidence of their murderous deeds. So yeah, things are very bad in Titan right now. Especially that lost part, because for a Space Marine, to take the recruits of Space Marine is kind of like taking their gene seed, which is the biggest fuck you taboo you can ever do to another Space Marine. Space Marines have one rule: you don't fuck with their shit. If you fuck with their shit, we got problems. So for the Grey Knights literally to go forward and to catch and kill people in this, and they say it themselves, murderous deeds. This is not a case of them asking for recruits. This is the case of them going to recruitment worlds and killing motherfuckers, stealing recruits, and just fucking off, covering up everything like it's a goddamn CIA psyop. This is not something that normal Astartes do. The Grey Knights understand that if this gets out, they are fucked. No Astartes, literally no loyalist is going to want to do anything with them. But to them, they're in such a bad spot that they just don't care at this point. They have to get this done, and lo and behold, if this what needs to be done, this what needs to be done, son. So with the Grey Knights being in the worst position they've been pretty much ever, how on earth does GW expect us to believe that they could ever have a chance in hell against the might of the Adeptus Custodes? That's because no one really knows much about the Grey Knights. The Grey Knights are already one of the most least understood chapters of all the Adeptus Astartes. Again, part of them having such few fans. So it makes sense that a lot of people don't really know what they're about. But I decided to do some digging into this because I thought this was just a load of rubbish. But when I read that codex and when I got into the meat of it, it started to make a terrible amount of sense. Because it turns out the Grey Knights are way more powerful than we thought they were, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is what they can get to, and more importantly, who they can get to. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But right now, I'm going to go over a couple of the resources that the Grey Knights have that just prove how absolutely mental they are. And we're going to start off with one that a lot of people like to meme on, but again, sleep on terribly. That being the Baby Carrier, aka the Nemesis Dreadknight. The Nemesis Dreadknight is one of those things that people love to meme on, mainly because when the model was first released, people did not like it, hence them calling it shit like the Baby Carrier, and people have just thought it to be an alternative to another form of Dreadnought. But that has never been the case. Nemesis Dreadknights have always been something that is far more important and potent than a Dreadnought. They are a different kind of walker, that is said to sink right into the psyche of their pilot. Stronger the pilot, stronger the walker. And they are meant solely to combat greater demons, a la Bloodthirsters, Lords of Change, Great Unclean Ones, and of course Keepers of Secrets. They were always more advanced than Dreadnoughts, but recently we got some lore that really showed just how advanced they were, and how scary they were. Every single Nemesis Dreadknight can turn the tide of battle by its presence. Some mount heavier versions of the Psi-Cannon and Incinerator, or Gatling Silencers, capable of laying down murderous storms of Psi-Bolts. Some wield Nemesis Greatswords, Hammers, or Mauls, which themselves are taller than most battle brothers, yet with as much skill as you would a regular blade. So equipped, Nemesis Dreadknight pilots can duel even the largest demon lords in Xenos horrors on equal footing. On those occasions when Brotherhoods can deploy entire spearheads of Nemesis Dreadknights to the battlefield, the devastation they unleash is cataclysmic. The deeds they can achieve are nothing short of magnificent. Of course, for the Grey Knights to deploy such a force, the threat they face is likely to be so apocalyptic that nothing short of the Dreadknights pilot's finest efforts stand any chance of defeating it. The most formidable combination of a Space Marine and Dreadknight possible is when a Grand Master pilots one of these exoframes into battle. Each Grand Master capable of this feat has their own dedicated Dreadknight exosuit, kept in the Hall of Giants in the Citadel of Titan, and each is treated as a hallowed relic. Yet, if the other Imperial factions would discover the true provenance of the Nemesis Dreadknights, they would likely prove less respectful. Few know the truth, even in the chapter itself. Instead, they accept the old wisdom that the exosuits derive from the Dark Age technologies that cannot be shared with the Adeptus Mechanicus for their own good. This is not inaccurate, at least in regards to some of the Dreadknights' exosuit systems. But it is not the entire story, for only those on the chapter council and the highest ranking tech marines of the armory know of the profoundly alien and unutterably ancient techno-sorcerous secrets that lend the Nemesis Dreadknight their animus, or of the sinister captives that have languished for millennia within the Sanctum Sanctorum, unwillingly lending their heretical arts to the fashioning of these precious war machines. For those of you who aren't paying attention, yeah, this shit uses sorceress stuff, aka chaos shit. As we'll get onto later, the Grey Knights just have a bunch of fucking demons and chaos corrupted motherfuckers chucked in their hole. They just keep them there, and according to this, they use it to make their Dreadknights. Meaning, this is reverse engineered chaos bullshit, aka demon magic. Not just that, but Xenos tech involved. What Xenos? Possibly every Xenos, maybe even Necrons, including with Dark Age technology stuff. So in short, Dreadknights at the bare minimum are a combination of Dark Age technology humanity, weird wacky Xenos bullshit, possibly Necron tech, and reversed engineered heretical demon sorcery. That is bonkers, and it explains why they're able to duel greater demons one-on-one. Because sometimes you gotta fight fire with fire, but it's not just greater demons. As we know, during the Third War of Armageddon, 3 Dreadknights, one of them being a Grandmaster Dreadknight, were able to duel and fight and subsequently banish Angron, though it did come at the cost of 2 of them dying and 1 of them being grievously wounded. When we consider that's a 3-to-1 ratio against a demon Primarch, that's some fucking good results, let me tell you what. So again, 1 Dreadknight equals a greater demon, 3 Dreadknights equals a demon Primarch. All of a sudden, the baby carrier looks a lot less funny and a way more serious. But Brad, that's only like a few of them, surely that's not every dude. And for that, we then get to their armory. Every Grey Knight is a Psyker. Psykers are significantly more powerful than anyone in 40k even understands. The main issue is because it's really hard to write Psykers correctly, because Psykers is literally magic. Magic is literally anything. If you want, you could turn a Space Marine inside out, and yeah, that'd be okay. The counterpoint to this is the fact that it takes a severe amount of mental fortitude to stop yourself from literally going insane and becoming a demon host. Space Marine Psykers, however, are able to do that. The sheer amount of iron-willed determination that a Space Marine has means that he's able to temper that shit. So in theory, a Space Marine Psyker should be able to destroy anyone who isn't another Psyker. They should be really overpowered. But then again, writing that correctly is very difficult, so they kind of get shackled a little bit. Grey Knights, however, each and every one of them is a Master Psyker, and they're able to utilize that psychic power quite well, mainly because they join together. Basically, you have the Sergeant of the squad, and all the other Space Marines will channel their psychic energies and use their Sergeant as a focus, basically empowering them in a psychic web. This is incredibly potent, because it means that even if you just kill one dude, the rest of the web is still just as strong. The biggest issue with Psykers is that they're glass cannons. You kill them, they're done. But with this psychic web, you have to kill every single Grey Knight for it to stop, which again, makes them pretty fucking difficult to take out. But not only are they masters of psychic fortitude and work together, their actual gear is way more potent than people give it credit for. The Wargear of the Grey Knight is amongst the most esoterically powerful used by any fighting force in the Imperium, expertly mastercrafted and sanctified through painstaking rites of sorcery and prayer. It incorporates elements of arcana that no other human faction would be trusted to wield. Though most of the chapter's weapons and war engines are wrought on Deimos, many are further enhanced in secret within the Citadel of Titan. Other weapons are not trusted to any beyond the chapter, and must be handcrafted by the Grey Knight's Tech Marines. This work presents a conflict of faith and duty to the Tech Marines, inducted as they have been into the sacred mysteries of the Machine God's Creed. These teachings forbid mechanical innovation and iteration, yet both are crucial to their labors on Titan. They must make prescribed alterations to equipment, inlaying psychocircuitry and warding sigils into armor and vehicle hulls. Worse and most heretical, They must incorporate Xenos technologies, and occasionally, forbidden arcana from the Dark Age technology. All this the chapter's tech marines do, though they wrestle with the spiritual disquiet in the prosecution of their duties. There is no other option. The war against the warp must take precedence overall. So our source at the Grey Knights that they possess sufficient suits of Terminator armor to outfit their entire chapter. Even the greatest and most storious chapters struggle to maintain enough Terminator plate to equip 100 warriors of their first company. That the Templars of Titan own so many suits of Terminator armor speaks volumes about the importance of their mission. This is not to say that the chapter does not deploy powered armored warriors. It is simply that these suits are worn by warriors assigned to duties, such as scouting and hit-and-run raids, where mobility takes precedence over resilience. Almost always outnumbered, and often pitted against the bestial abominations whose corruption is incarnate. Our brotherhoods require prodigious firepower to complement their warriors' formidable armors. This they possess in many forms. The standard armor of the chapter is the Stormbolter, whose ferocious rate of fire and explosive armor-piercing bolts can devastate infantry in moments. Where even this storm of shells is insufficient, incinerators are deployed, fueled by reservoirs of blessedly psychically charged promethium. These variant heavy flamers unleash ferocious jets of white-hot flame that burn body and soul alike. Psi-Cannons and silencers laid down still heavier firepower in extremis. The former share their roots with the Stormbolter, a process triggered as much when fired the wielder's psychic compulsion as by technology. They spit silver-tipped shells at a ferocious rate, each round burning with a psychic charge. Silencers, meanwhile, have no trigger mechanism but the wielder's mind. Believed to have their origins in proscribed Xenos technology, these weapons focus and amplify the psychic might of the wielders before unleashing its hails of soul-seeking Psy-blasts. For all the chapter's ferocious firepower, it is a rare battle that does not come down to blade work for them by the end. Fortunately, the Templars of Titan also possess melee armaments of supreme lethality and craftsmanship, fashioned by their tech marines from true silver and iron, and wreathed in channeled psychic fury of their wielders. Nemesis force weapons are tools of banishment as much as physical combat. They excel in both roles, for each Nemesis weapon is bonded with his wielder in a ritual of dedication that allows him to send full psychic and sorcerer's power surging through the blade, hammer, mace, or stave. The warriors of Titan will employ even stronger and darker weaponry when they must. Their psycho grenades detonate in clouds of psi-charged particles, said to be a byproduct of the processes of the Golden Throne itself. Fiend Eater bolts, meanwhile, contain reservoirs of powdered null bones and extracts from several rare Xeno species, all suspended in a solution of quicksilver and Saint's Tears. Rare and valuable in the extreme, a single round can drive a processor demon from mortal body and hurl the entity back into the warp. Recently, some of the chapter's librarians have even ritually bartered the souls of luckless humans with demonic entities in exchange for true names, only to take the vacated mortal shell and bind it about with warding runes. In doing so, they create cages of flesh and blood to be used as weapons in battle. Into these prisons of meat and bone, the practitioners hope that they will be permanently bound and entrapped. Once such a host body is placed into temporal stasis, the entity trapped within should, in theory, be incarcerated indefinitely. So, that was a lot, I know and I'm aware, but when looking at this exoscript, I thought about what to cut and I just really didn't feel comfortable cutting anything because this shit is wild. The fact of the matter is that the tech marines frequently incorporate Xenos and demon technology into their shit. Is one, not only wild, it is the literal definition of techno-heresy. It is beyond bad news. If Mechanicum finds out about this shit, they're gonna be pissed. Not to mention, people often seem to forget, their whole chapter is equipped in Terminator plate. Yeah, the whole chapter, not just the first company, the whole chapter has Terminator plate. Not just Terminator plate, but possibly also power armor plate as well, meaning that technically they could have up to 2,000 suits of armor just laying around, which is a diabolical number. But even their standard weapons are absolutely devastating. Magically infused Stormbolters and magic flamethrowers? I'm sorry, what? Even then, their Psi-Cannons and silencers are absolutely devastating in any means. These are not simply just bolt weapons at this point. They are taking the magical power of the Grey Knights, aka the shit from the warp, and channeling it into goddamn bullets. Let alone the Psi grenades and the Fiend Eater bolts, which is a goddamn good name. But the one thing that I really want to hyper-focus on is what the librarians do. They take humans, regular humans, and barter their souls away for demon souls and then trap the demons in the human flesh. They make their own artificial demon hosts, and they've been doing this for a while. How many motherfuckers do they have like this? A lot. Too much. Too many. And they're just keeping them there. They are keeping them there, meaning in theory, they could have maybe hundreds of demons just locked in their basement, waiting for fuck all and less. And they're still doing that. The Grey Knights are starting to look more and more like a Chaos chapter than they are a goddamn Loyalist chapter. Think about it. Incorporation of demon tech, capturing demon souls, infusing demons into their shit, incorporating Xenos tech as well, not to mention betraying every single standard of the Martian and the Ecclesiarchy priesthood, all at the same goddamn time. And the thing is though, this isn't just new lore. This has been going on for possibly since the Great Rift opened, meaning several hundred years. This is not something new, and that should scare the hell out of you. Okay, but enough. I know a lot of you are basically on the edge of your seats yelling at me, Brad, tell me what the hell do you mean about the thumbnail? I want to know what the hell is a Psi-Titan. And yeah, it turns out that the Grey Knights have Psi-Titans. The desperation of the age has also encouraged those who rule Titan to consider the deployment of the most extreme and esoteric weapons. One such tool is the absolute annihilation resulting from planetary exterminatus, typically unleashed via cyclonic torpedo barrages from orbit of a world that is considered beyond redemption. Yet in the depths of the citadel of Titan, not to mention Saturn's other mystery-shrouded moons, host stranger assets still, be they ancient Psi-Titans preserved from the imperial prehistory, psychic blanks with insidious powers, or even warriors possessed by caged warp entities and bound to the task of vengeance. In such an age, weapons of last resort may see their use in battle. Alright, so yeah, a couple things there. Exterminatus, the Grey Knights have Exterminatus capability, but that's, to be fair, pretty much everyone does. But they have Psi-Titans, and I'll get to Psi-Titans in a little bit because that is a big deal. I want to make a note to the other stuff. Psychic blanks with insidious powers. Warriors possessed by warp entities bound to the task of vengeance. In other words, the Grey Knights have yoinked warp entities. Warp entities not associated with chaos, but basically could be anywhere from a lesser demon all the way up to a greater demon in power scale and bounded to a mortal person, which they have been doing, and those just lying in waiting to be unleashed like a goddamn frothing dog off the collar. Next up we then have psychic blanks with insidious powers. Psychic blanks are very rare. Not only are they rare, they are terribly powerful. It's a good chance that some of those are beta or alpha level psychers at minimum, meaning that they're gonna be the top tier most deadliest psychers of all time, i.e. they're gonna give Ahriman a fucking run for his motherfucking money. That's what that means. Also, the fact that they're blanks means that they're gonna have an edge over pretty much every other blank and other psychic nonsense that they fight, because yeah, that is not a good thing. But we don't really know much about those two, so that's all I'm gonna talk about them. What we do know a lot about, however, is the Psi-Titans. The Psi-Titan is something that a lot of people don't really understand just how fucking bullshit they are. Like, if you thought a Psyker was bullshit, a Psi-Titan is literally cheating. Basically, when the Emperor made his pact with Mars, part of the pact was in the exchange of 30 Warlord class engines. They gave them to the Emperor, no sales, no questions, no nothing. And during that time, the Emperor would end up with 20 of them. 10 of them would be lost, but at the end of it, he would create a brand whole 20 Psi-Titans, and these would be a part of the new Imperial household, known as the Ordo Sinister. Also, take a look at that fucking emblem. Holy shit, that's fucking badass. As the name implies, these are psychic titans, but they have been equipped and modified with Dark Aether technology created by the Emperor himself. More specifically, something known as the Citrix Anima. Basically, this is a device that allows psychic energies to be harnessed and possessed by the Warlord Titan itself, meaning that it's a device that allows it to cast Smite, or pretty much any other war power, but Titan-sized. And this is not powered by a regular generator. It has one, but its main generator is a damn Psyker, surgically bound to the cockpit and locked in place against its will. Said Psyker usually has their eyes removed, their tongue closed, and their mouth sewn shut. Ears as well gone, because this is the fucking Imperium, they're not nice motherfuckers. Not to mention, you then have a blank. Not just any blank, a high-level blank who serves as the princeps of said Psi-Titan. Meaning that this blank can command the absolute power of the Psi-Titan to the nth degree without even so much as the smallest hint of worry of any form of corruption, because he's a literal blank. He just does not care. And they were armed with multiple weapons. 2 big mounted shoulder cannons with a variety of means, 1 power gauntlet claw, which is essentially a giant fuck-off force claw, and then its most dangerous weapon, that being the Sinistramus Tenebrae, or the left hand of darkness, aka a black hole gun. This thing shoots black holes It is beyond terrible. But again, me waffling on is not going to give you an idea of how terrible this thing is, so here it is straight from the horse's mouth, taken from Mortis. He saw it, a warlord titan, walking alone into the battlesphere, a single blue rune marking its fealty to the Emperor. Tetrakaron felt his mouth go dry, and the world of incandescence seemed to fade. "Princeps Signoris," came a voice that sounded clear and cold in the vox. "I am Prefect Kadima of the engine Orientalis Echion. I am entering your immediate combat zone. Prepare to launch a single vortex payload on transmitted coordinates, and then give supporting fire." The Titan's image blinked through basic data feeds, black bleeding to dark green, edges of bronze and gold without a mark of heraldry. It was old enough in the service of the oldest Legios to have heard some whispers of the lost Titans given to Terra, of engines that walked with hallowed spirits. Some thought these stories just the old fears and flesh breeding into the rationality of data, but Tetrakaron had never dismissed the possibility of there being a shadow of truth behind the whispers. Now he saw that he had been wrong. The truth was beyond the fear of stories. "This is Princeps Signoris Dacorum of Legio Ignatum. I have battle spear at command. You will state your tactical intentions and integrate with my command." "Negative. My command renders your authority null, and your compliance mandated. Your first act will be to launch a vortex warhead on the transmitted target coordinates." Her voice was cold and grey in the swirl of incandescence. A blurt of date and command code clearance unfolded the transmission. The authority was undoubted. "These coordinates fall short of enemy engines. We would be firing into nothing," came the Visa sending. "Princeps Signoris, your compliance is necessary," said Kadin. Tetrakaron held the contradiction of thoughts and emotions still in his mind for a moment, felt the breathing fire of his engine and the pulse of his own blood. "Do it," he willed. The engine responded. Fuel flushed into the missile ignition. Clouds spread across his shoulders as the vortex warhead armed. Orientalis Echion walked past them towards the demon engines. The air around it shivered. Launch. The vortex missile struck. A black hungering hole opened between Mortis engines and the Psi-Titan. The breach yawned wide. A bullet hole shot in reality. The warp energy and collapsing matter whirled at its edge, flaring through every color of the spectrum as they balanced on the edge of oblivion. Tetrakaron saw it, through his engine's eyes. The incandescent turning and the absence of circling of blinding white. There was blood on his teeth. Regina Forum's head twisted, the guard machine trying to turn its sensory gaze away from the violation. The air around the wound rippled. The pair of Mortis engines shivered. Scrap cold burbled across the new sphere and Vox, a chuckle of dying stars and radiation death. They heaved forwards, turning to pass the vortex, weapons hailing to fire. Orientalis Echion kept moving, striding directly forwards. Shells rattled from its shields as the Daemon Titans blazed at it. The Psi-Titan's shields flared and burst as it strode into the fusillade. Beams of pale light stabbed through the curtains of explosion. Armor vaporized, metal scattered from cuts. Still the Psi-Titan walked. Its gun silent, its skin bleeding. The vortex was spinning towards it. It was going to die before it even had drawn blood. "Synchronize and lock fire to those engines!" Tetrakaron roared across the link to his maniple. "Now!" They felt Regina Forum already turning, its targeting a narrow circle of fire-etched symbols in its sight. Orientalis Echion's carapace was glowing with wounds, trailing burning oils and sparkles. The vortex, directly in front of it. "Princeps Signoris Decurion," came the cool voice of Kadim over the Vox link. "Maintain your previous target tasking." We will be what we are," said Kadim, and cut the link. In the battlesphere, the Psi-Titan had reached the threshold of the vortex. "Ever-turning cog of truth. It's walking into it." Orientalis Echion stepped into the black abyss of the vortex. The ragged edge of the hole flared for an instant. Ghost lightning arced through the air. Reality howled, and then the vortex drained into the Psi-Titan, spinning half-demonic energies clawing at the air. Then, it was gone. Orientalis Echion took another step. Its wounded skin glowed. Eldritch power poured into the breaches and damage. Armored plates flickered back into being. Tetrakaron could hear a high-pitched shriek rising in his thoughts as he watched the Psi-Titan remake reality. It flickered, time and space blinking, and now it was closer to the two demon titans. Much closer, and they were turning, warhorns drowning. The entities bound within their shells sensing the anathema of the foe they faced. "Hit them now!" willed Tachurion, and his maniple answered. Beams of plasma and las bathed the mortar's engines. Ghost shields coiled. Fire clotted to black slime. Void shields shattered. The weapon on Orientalis Ekion's left arm fired, white to black, straight and true, like a razor line pulled through light and sound. It touched the first mortar's engine and unmade it. It took a step. The substance of his shell unwinding into grey ash. The demon in its core blazed out, folding light into shadows of claws, insect wings, horned heads, and spindled fingers. The beam of unreality cored into it, shredding it, drinking its false substance with a hungering howl. The second demon titan goggled static. Vials shook as the cannons on its back and fists fired. Light exploded across Orientalis Ekion. Its shields were still charging, but the shots exploded half a meter from the Psi-Titan's skin. It turned to face the second mortar's engine. Slow, unhurried. Its cannon sucked the light from the explosions. The demon titan's head split along a crack. Iron teeth spread wide in a wet maw. Orientalis Ekion fired. The beam hit the demon titan on the left shoulder. For an instant, the substance of its armor held, and then it began to dissolve into dust and smoke. The demon engine slumped to its left and tried to take a step. It fell gurgling, its substance unraveling, and Orientalis Ekion was walking towards it, carving the beam of darkness through it as the entity within tried to hold on, tried to fight. A sudden black star opened where the demon titan had fallen. Orientalis Ekion strode on, the air howling with ghost light around it. What? The Visa's questioned breath across the incandescence. What just happened? Dekachurong looked towards where the Psi-Titan walked alone. "The Emperor's talons have opened the way. Forwards!" replied Tekaturion. Regina Forum's warhorn sounded as it strode, weapons firing, its surviving kin following in its wake. Now, for those of you who don't understand what exactly happened in that little scenario, the Psi-Titan had a friendly Titan fire a Vortex missile. Vortex missile opens a portal to the warp. It fired the missile on him. It then stepped into the warp and then used it as a fucking battery to charge up its gun and then teleport it to Omairamo Shinryu behind the two Demon Titans and fucking kill them in one hit each. That is the power of a Psi-Titan. As to how many are left, generally speaking, it's assumed that there are about 12 left. We know there is at least 2 in the Imperial Palace, meaning that the Grey Knights could have anywhere from 2 all the way up to 10 of these bastards lying around. So that's a lot of fucking firepower. They are absolutely the deadliest Titan that we have. Some would argue even more deadlier than the Imperator, because the warp is one fucky thing, and these guys have mastery over it. So yes, the Grey Knights are indeed a very, very, very potent chapter. But some of you may be still asking, but Brad, how exactly are they going to take this out? What would they do? Why would they do it? And there is one specific thing I want to point to in the Codex. And it talks about the Grey Knights. It talks about how they handle their missions. It talks about what they do. And it talks about what their missions mean to them. The Grey Knights do whatever they need to do. They will do anything, be it incorporate Xenos tech, be it incorporating demon tech, be it hurting other Imperials. Whatever they do it in the name of the Great War. They don't care about anyone else. To fight the war against the warp, they will sacrifice themselves and the entirety of the Imperium, because that is what must be done. The name of that chapter is by any means, the Grey Knights will get this done. And the Custodes are a massive weapon, but they are not infallible. During the war in the Webway, they fought for a good 5 years, but even they were overwhelmed, losing 90% of their men. We know for a fact the Grey Knights have an active Webway portal underneath Titan. The Grey Knights will, by any means necessary, do whatever they can to get their job done. So who's to say that the Emperor awakes, and that the Grey Knights won't decide that they're going to open up that Webway portal, and they're going to summon a bunch of demons, because they're psychers, and they can summon demons. But Brad, would the Grey Knights condemn the entirety of Terra to demon death? The Grey Knights would condemn themselves to demon death, if it meant completing their mission. They are crazy. They will do anything, literally anything. The Custodes will be overwhelmed by a surge of demons, Xenos alien horrors, and whatever the hell the Grey Knights have locked up underneath Titan. All of that will be unleashed into the heart of the Imperial Palace, whilst the Grey Knights, wielding whatever forces they can, which may include other inquisitorial agents, because we know that Space Marine chapters such as the Red Hunters, Exorcists, and Black Inculpators are indeed considered brothers by the Grey Knights, and are said to listen to them. In addition, they have the Inquisition at their hand. The Inquisition is all types of fucked up, meaning that the Inquisition is more than willing to do something stupid. So you have a force of Space Marines, you have a force of Inquisition, you have a force of Guardsmen perhaps maybe even, all led by Psi-Titans. And whilst Terra is being absolutely annihilated by a demonic incursion which the Grey Knights started, they are just going to launch into here and they are going to make a way to get to the Emperor, to kill him, and to put him back on the throne. The Grey Knights have the means to do whatever they need to, and that is what makes them so incredibly deadly. The Grey Knights by themselves cannot defeat the 10,000. The Grey Knights, with everything they can pull together, Psi-Titans, demons, Xenos, including other Imperials, the Grey Knights have more than enough capability, more than enough ability, and more than enough depravity to unleash hell upon the Imperium to get their job done. So when you put all that into context, ladies and gentlemen, the Terminus Decree makes a lot of sense. Because the Adeptus Custodes were only ever undone by one foe, and that is the foe of the warp. And who, ladies and gentlemen, is the master of the warp but a Psyker, let alone the 666th chapter of the Custodes, the Grey Knights. And to me, that makes a lot of very perfect sense. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know, very heavy on the X script today, but you know, a lot of this only makes sense when you do extra scripts and stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got a new appreciation for the Grey Knights. They're fucking wild. They're fucking bullshit. Oh my god. If Bobby G finds out about the Grey Knights and their bullshit, he may flick the switch. Because this shit is fucked up, bro. Oh my god. But yeah, to all my Grey Knight fans, hi Brad. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, but let me know what you thought down below. But I want to say a massive thank you to guys for watching, but even one massive thank you to my awesome members and Patreons. Shout out to my Lieutenant tier members, Mr. Eddie V3, Miss Major of the Void, and Mr. Curtis Studies. Shout out to my Sergeant tier members, Mr. Damiak, Mr. Warsmith.Fireheart, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Matthew Merrill, Mr. Sean IRL7, and Mr. Bullwin. Shout out to my Corporal tier members, Mr. Tremaine the Math Kitty, Mr. Lord Rosarius, Mr. Tech Priest Toaster, Miss Shauna Smithers, Mr. Gentle Salamander, and the Wench of Warhammer. And finally, certainly but not least, shout out to my awesome private tier members, Mr. Thomas Rose Lawns, Mr. Iva_SBW, Mr. Monkey Man, Mr. Michael Aida, Mr. Diego Castro, Mr. Fortress Udom, Mr. CM Dine, Mr. Eric Massaro, and Mr. Dom Marek. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate y'all. Sign up to memberships. You get a bunch of awesome benefits, behind the scenes stuff, early access videos, member only content, and my love and support. But remember, this will always be free. So whether you give your boy $1 or not, I will love you just the same. Mwah! Also, I am super sorry that things have been a little sporadic. Life has been lifing, so I'm trying to like get my shit together. But you know, I'm trying. But thank you guys for being so understanding. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, amazing people. Thank you all so very much for watching. You almost should stay low there, boys and gals. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers! I'm just saying, the Grey Knights probably have a demon girlfriend in there, just waiting there, just chilling. I'm just saying, because remember, never ask a Custodes the corporeal form of his girlfriend.